Welcome back to Generals on the March. Generals on the March is a storytelling podcast focused on telling the athletic history of Washington and Lee University through sit-down interviews with alumni, coaches, and athletes, detailing the athletic experience at our school and explaining how our school's history, traditions, and values make the experience here unique. I'm your host, Thomas Wakefield, a first-year football player here at the university, recording from the Generals Redoubts podcasting studio here at Fancy Hill. Join me today as we sit down with Mary Schleusner. To most of our listeners, Mary probably needs no introduction, and if I tried to list all of our accomplishments, this intro would probably turn out to be 20 minutes. So to sum it up really quickly, Division III National Player of the Year, 3-time All-American, the record holder for rebounds and double-doubles in D3. All in all, a truly legendary resume. So first off, thank you so much for coming on the show today. The first question I wanted to ask you is pretty simple. Before we get into all the things you've done here, I was wondering what led you to WNL in Lexington in the first place. And additionally, I don't know, but I would assume that you could have had opportunities to transfer, play at the Division I level, maybe under scholarship. So I guess it's really a two-part question. What led you here originally, and then what kept you here?
Totally. First of all, thanks for having me.
Of course.
This is going to be a blast. I already know it is. But yeah, my mom went here. She was class of 93. And I sort of grew up with WNL on the back of my ear always. My dad went to Alabama, but I didn't start taking basketball too seriously until my junior year of high school when I decided that I didn't want to run cross country in college, but I wanted to actually play basketball. And my mom says you can either pick up a basketball or a book. And I chose basketball. And so the senior on my team when I was a freshman in high school actually came here. She put it on the map. I came on an official visit. Absolutely loves the team. Thought the campus was beautiful.
Yeah.
I ended up getting an offer, being a little nervous about taking it because I thought I wanted to go to Alabama or a big school for a while. And then I just looked at my dad and he said this without actually saying it, that I would be a crazy person not to take the opportunity to go to WNL and play the sport I love for the next 4 years. So I accepted it. And then, yeah, I had a blast freshman year, pretty good freshman year. I had a really good sophomore season. And so I'd say more so than anything, like sophomore year is when everybody started to really reach out. But I think I'm glad I will always remember this, but I was walking across Cadaver one day during spring term. And so the portal was up and running and everybody was asking if I was going anywhere. But I was walking across Cadaver on the phone with my high school coach, and he had given me a list of schools that had reached out and asked if I had any interest of leaving. And I remember walking across and looking at the trees and knowing that I was on my way to my one singular spring term class. And then I think I was going to go get ice cream with my friends after. And I just thought to myself that it doesn't really get any better than this. And then I told him, I said, I'm staying, I'm not going. And so then he said, sounds good. And so then last year, nobody really reached out because I didn't put my name in the portal, didn't tell anybody I had any interest of leaving. I really do think WNL is the greatest school on earth.
Yeah. I think a lot of our listeners would agree with that. And even just my first year here, I'm totally inclined to agree. We really have a lot of special things here that you don't get many other places. I think we can all get lost in maybe moment to moment from the day to day. But like you said, you have those moments where you step back and you're like, wow.
When you take a step back and you realize what you're able to do here, Greek life, sports, academics, getting involved, like Cathicon, I'm a tour guide. I love it. I cannot talk enough about how great this school is.
Yeah. And I think that's another thing because I grew up in Charlotte. There's a lot of WNL alums. And like my parents didn't have alums in my family, but they knew alums through their work and they're all the same way. They will always sing the praises of the school, which is something that helped me get here originally too. But it's really impressive.
100%.
Yeah. Moving to the athletic side of things. Now that you've kind of wrapped up your career here, like again, truly a remarkable career, like how do you feel you've developed from when you got here now, both as like a player, a person? Because we talk about, again, all the time on this show, Division III, like you said, there's a lot more to being like a student athlete here than just the athlete and the student part. Like how do you feel you developed as a whole person and additionally as a basketball player since you've been here?
First of all, thank you. I really appreciate that. And yeah, I think more than anything, I guess I'll start with as an athlete. I came in and my dad told me, work your redacted off and maybe you'll get to see the court for a few minutes this year. And so I come into my first lift and my first pickup, and I think that is when I realized that I could really make an impact even as a freshman. But the thing about that is that I wasn't aware of how fast-paced a collegiate basketball game is. You come from high school with no shot clock to college where you're running like 3 sets every time you're in the shot clock. You're running a primary, a transition set, and then you're going into your regular offensive set. So a lot of memorization. And I think over the course of the 4 years, I've grown into my body. I've realized what my strengths are, like really how to fuel my athleticism and how to use that to my advantage on the court. I think as a freshman, I was just running and jumping everywhere I could, everywhere that orange ball went, but being more strategic about it. And then more importantly, as a person, I'm really proud of how I've developed as a leader. And I've really not been afraid to use my voice, not just within the team circle, just like voicing my opinions with the coaches. And if we get a new play, I'm glad I'm stepping up to be like, what if we tried this? Or what if we didn't do this? Because this like initial side has never worked for us. And so maybe that's a bit, a lot of people would say too confident, but like my teammates and my coaches have put me in a position where they have mentioned and encouraged me to use my voice whenever I can. So I'm forever in debt to them and appreciative of them. Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering if there were any players when you were younger who took you under their wing or like coaches that like set that example to you when you got to be a like more of a leader later on in your career.
I would say Catherine Vandiver. She was actually went to my high school as well. And so she
Gotcha.
was a senior in my high school when I was a freshman. And she was good friends with my older brother. And she's one of the reasons I ever actually played varsity basketball in high school. I made the team as a freshman, but all my friends were on JV and the practices were earlier.
Yeah.
So that's what I wanted to do. And my brother and her sort of sat me down and were like, you need to play varsity. And it's pretty funny, the butterfly effect, because I never would have gotten a year with her. But when I came in, she was the five, the well-established five. She had an insane career here and just taught me everything there is to know about being a five. I didn't come from high school where I played five. I probably played every position under the sun except for five. And getting here as a freshman, I learned post moves. I learned how to cut. I learned how to use my body under the basket, how to rebound. So also forever in debt to her because Lord knows where I'd be without her.
Yeah. That's awesome to hear. I think that the familial atmosphere of our sports teams is something that like is really cool to experience because as a freshman, like the football season like 4 months ago, like there were definitely guys who like take you under their wings and take an active interest in mentorship, which is again something really cool. And I think that being D3, we don't get like transfers in, transfers out. We don't lose roster
Totally.
each year. Like so that's really cool. It's like a familial unit.
I just was at the All-Star game this past weekend and there's 20 girls there, including me. And I talked to most everybody. I don't want to say I'm the only non-transfer, but like it really does, like I can't name one other person who
Wow.
spent 4 years at their school. And my experience here is black and white versus some of these other girls and where they went to school. They were great and I had the best time with them, but their college experiences took them sometimes 2 or 3 transfers to find the
Wow.
right fit for them. So our team is a unit. It's super familial, like you were saying. There's only 15 of us, so we've got to be close.
Yeah.
And it's such a beautiful thing to be able to go through the journey with every single one of them and to not transfer out or have any transfers in. Although we would have embraced the transfer in, it's just such a beautiful thing to be able to have that with them.
Yeah. Like you said, referring to the journey, I was wondering, what have you noticed in terms of the growth of your teammates and like the program at large over your career here?
Well, when I came in as a freshman, the last ODAC we had won was in 2010. We'd only won one.
Yeah.
So I remember they had gotten close the prior year. I mean, we went 20-7 our freshman year. That was our record.
Mhm.
And that is berserk to me right now. But I remember that we worked our way through ODAC play. I think we lost to Shenandoah and Bridgewater that year. And that was normal for me. I didn't come in with any expectations. I didn't really even look at like the program's record when I was thinking about schools. I really just thought about WNL as a whole. And so I wasn't trying to find my way to an established program, but I knew that when we were going through ODAC play, I thought winning the ODAC was such a huge deal. And it is. But back then it's the biggest deal ever. And
Yeah.
like, it's the first time they'd done it in 13 years. And now senior year, winning the ODAC is the standard for the program. And not to say last year was unsuccessful, but we didn't win the ODAC and we lost in the second round. And we had just come off of sophomore year where we won the ODAC and lost in the Elite Eight, which is what we did this year. And so I think we've totally every single person has put in everything they have to redefine the standard for WNL women's basketball. And I feel lucky that I can walk away from my senior season having gone 31-1,
Yeah.
only having lost to the national champions. So it was a bummer, but we gave them the tightest run they had in their last 3 games of play. So
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, being at that game myself, like, in addition to tight game, we can have a few choice words with the officiating here and there,
Yeah.
but the way the school came together, like, that was honestly the most incredible thing I've seen since I've been here, and obviously I haven't been here very long,
Yeah.
but it was amazing to see, like, the whole school kinda unite behind women's basketball like that.
It was the best playing experience in any sport I've ever had in my life, and it will go down as the best playing experience I've ever had in my life because I was looking at Sarah Zimmerman, number 5, midway through the 4th quarter, and I think we had just gotten our lead back, but Dennison called a timeout, and we're coming back on court, and me and Sarah fight each other at center court, and the whole crowd is just going crazy and cheering and on their feet, and Sarah and I just had one moment where we looked at each other, and she looked at me and was like, "I cannot believe this is our life right now. What have we built?" And it's exactly that. Like, you're just at a loss of words for how lucky you feel. And we've gotten so many emails from faculty and staff over the past week, 2 weeks, just pouring out their gratitude to us, basically saying how much fun it was to see the community come together, like you said. And everything from students to retirement folks that live at Kendall, Lexington, to our parents, to everybody that was there, faculty. Everybody has said that it felt like a D1 school for just a moment.
It did.
And everybody came together.
Yeah. It was amazing to watch, and we're all, as students in the WL community, we're in debt to y'all for giving us that experience. But yeah, continuing on that trend, I was wondering, what are some things like you hope to see from the program, from younger players? Like after you graduate, what do you hope the team continues to trend in the direction of or do in the next couple of years?
I really hope that MUDITA becomes the core
Mhm.
essence of our program for the rest of time. We adopted it this year from Coach Pat Murphy from University of Alabama, and he zoomed in and talked to us about MUDITA, which means finding vicarious joy in the success of others. So if you appreciate Sam Collins's 3 as much as it's your own, we will be such a more successful team than just cheering on Sam, because as much as Sam's put in work, like, everybody is at the moment in the game because of everybody around you. And so every single basket I take or rebound I have, that's everybody else's as much as it is mine. And you're passing praise and taking guilt the whole time. And I just want the next 7 freshmen to come in and lean into that and feel that love, because I think it was something so special we had this year, something that not a lot of programs have. And so if we can get them to just have the automatic buy-in, and a couple years down the road, if I get to come back for an alumni weekend or something and run into a member of the program when I'm much older and they say that it's hard to explain how much fun they're having and how loved they feel, that will be a win for me, because
Gotcha.
I'll know the program hasn't changed one bit.
Wow. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the MUDITA thing is like something that I've been wondering about. Like you see it on the shirts and everything, be like,
Yeah,
I don't
what
know
is
that.
MUDITA?
Yeah, exactly. No, I was wondering too, now because we all the talk of legacy, what do you hope is next? But like, I was wondering if you could go back and talk with like your freshman self or your senior year of high school self. Like, what would you say to them? What it doesn't have to even be advice. It could just be like what would you say if you could have one conversation with them?
I would say that to little Mary. I would say to her to make sure every once in a while she should stop and have those moments like I had with Sarah, where you just get to look around and appreciate the benefits of all the work that you've put in. And I think that starts with even freshman year. I hadn't accomplished anything, but what I did do is get myself to WNL and
Mhm.
put myself in a position as a freshman to be myself here now. And so just take those moments and appreciate all the work that you did for yourself. Because at the end of the day, like, you're the one that has to get yourself up out of bed and drive yourself to practices and try to outwork everybody else as much as you can, and do that every single day for your whole life. And then you've got 4 more years of that in college.
Yeah.
And I would also just say, I think the coolest part about the rebounds and all of this stuff is that it's such, right now, like, it back then it was so unnatural that like I was getting 20 or something rebounds a game, and it's just not really conventional. But for me, nobody ever was in my, like, I didn't play you enough for anybody to be in my pathway to be like, that's not how you play the traditional 5. And so for everybody just letting me be and letting me flourish, I couldn't appreciate that enough. So I tell her to just take a moment and thank the people around her and really appreciate her teammates. And it's funny because in the past couple months of the senior season, we sit and do like PSAs, which are you just shout people out in a circle after practice. And I would sit there and I said, I know in a couple months I'm going to shoot myself because I wish I was back there and I'm going to be so sad. And I'm going to take it. And then as much as I tried to not take it for granted, like you just can't not. And I'm sitting here right now wishing I could go back to those moments saying I don't know how good I am. So you have it really good, Thomas.
Yeah, it is hard in the moment because I think we all, like as athletes, can relate to the time where it's like either it's basketball, you're doing whatever conditioning is, or for us, it's football, like an inside run, like the fourth time this week, and you're like, this sucks. But like at the same time, you're also like, I don't want it to suck, but it sucks. But like, it's going to be something that I'll miss in 5 years. So
100%.
yeah. I was wondering too, like when you said about not being a traditional five and being like allowed to flourish in like your own unique way, could you expand a little bit on that, on what you mean by that?
Totally. If you look at obviously D1 and D2 aside, because I truly am not a traditional five in that sense. If you look at the fives in the ODAC and beyond, they are about the same height as me, sometimes taller, sometimes a bit shorter, but I guess 5'10" to 6'3", 6'4" range. 6'3" and 6'4" on some pretty good teams, Denison. But they sit in the post and they banana cut to the other block, and then they just do their best to turn their body and box out. That's not my strength at all. I will never be somebody that just settles like that down low. And so I just started playing and I run out and I go set back cuts. And I'm also a transition player. Like I value transition a ton because of how fast I am. And I realize like that's my biggest strength. And so just trying to lean into those strengths. And the five is normally not the one pushing the ball down the court.
Yeah.
And normally if you watch a game too, like I'm just thinking about a five gets a board, they're landing on their feet, pivoting, turning around, looking for their point guard. If I get a board, I am putting the ball on the floor and booking it down the court and trying to find a shooter in the corner. And so that is just unexpected for a lot of people. But I was so grateful that everybody let me do that because it's not traditional basketball. It's the kind of basketball that we played. And our coach was all for it. Every second, she was like, let's rip it and go. And so being able to do all of that and play the sport how I love to play the sport has been one of the greatest blessings I've gotten.
Yeah, so this is actually funny because I was with some of my football buddies at the CNU game, right? And we were talking because we were like, the number one thing like impresses me about women's basketball is like they are running all the time. Like you push the ball up and down the floor. And because we have our debates on football, but like even as players, like, you always talk about like, what should we be doing? What can we be doing better? What will make our team better? But we're like, if we could run like this, if we could get up to the line, snap the ball like the way they get up and down the court, like that would be such a huge benefit for us. So I think the commitment to transition basketball and like getting up and going is something that definitely really struck me. I assume it strikes others as well.
Thanks. It is pretty there when you're playing a high transition team like CNU or like Denison, and you're not in the game and you're just watching it from the sidelines. It's remarkable how much running goes on, and you don't realize it when you're in the game until somebody gets fouled, and you're like, "Oh, thank God." Take your time on the free throws. And like Sarah will get fouled and she's taking 2 and I'm like, you have 10 seconds, maybe take 15. Go all the way you can.
Funny. We've already covered it a little bit with talking about the tournament run, like these, like how incredible those moments were. But I was wondering, like, if you could pick like a handful of moments to share with the audience from like women's basketball at large, and maybe not even women's basketball, maybe it's like something related to Greek life or just whatever, because again, there's a lot more to WNL students than just athletics. Just if you could pick a handful of memories from your time here to share with someone that would like demonstrate how it was here to them, what would they be?
I will say one of the highlights that comes to mind of my entire experience in the program is this year we went to Florida for our holiday tournament trip. We were there till December 23rd, I think, which is pretty late. WNL gets out I guess the 14th. And so when we stayed at school for another week, practiced for another week, it's all we did is in practice and just hang out with each other and get close. That was incredible. And then we flew to Florida, had 2 days in Orlando, and then we went to Daytona. And by the time we had gotten to Daytona, it had been, I think, over almost 2 weeks without seeing anybody, basically, other than each other. And so it was fun, but there was a bit of us that were like, we want to go home for Christmas.
Yeah.
But So we were playing in this convention center, and right across the road was our hotel, and right behind the hotel was the beach. And we had just beaten the University of UNE, Northeast, Northeast,
New England, University
New
of New
England,
England. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Northeast. We just beaten them, and we were playing Carroll the next day. And this was our first time really playing a ranked opponent. We were 9-0. We had Emory, who was ranked number 8 after Christmas. So Carroll was number 12 at the time. I remember we were freaking terrified. One of their players who actually just met at the All-Star game was All-American Natalie Greenkiss, I think. She was the dog. And so we were pretty nervous going in, no doubt. But we beat them. We destroyed them. We didn't destroy them, but it was a close game. And we just came onto that court with nobody who we knew there except for our parents. And we just took care of business. And the games that were the most fun were obviously the home games when we hosted. But when you're just doing that with your team in the middle of Florida, right about to be Christmas, and all you can think about is how you want to go for Christmas, but as soon as you step on the court, you're like, we got to earn it. Let's go. We beat that team. We all left the court, got in the locker room, ran across the road, didn't go in the hotel, ran around the hotel, dropped our bags. I'm still in my basketball shoes. I'm ripping them off. We're like sprawling across all of our belongings across the beach as everybody's running towards the water. We're still in our jerseys. We're like taking off our jerseys and taking off our jersey shorts and just like running in the water. And our whole team just jumped in the ocean. And we swam in the ocean together, and the waves were big. And it was the most fun I've ever had. I just remember I could not get the biggest smile off my face for the entire time we were in the ocean. And I was like, I don't know if I'll ever be this happy again, because it was just so much more than basketball at that moment. And it was fun. They are literally my best friends.
Yeah. Wow. That's really an incredible story.
It was
And
awesome.
yeah, I think it speaks too to, again, we talked about familial culture of like sports teams here. And I think that there's no other words than that,
Yeah,
right?
totally. Being on a sports team is so incredibly special. And I feel so lucky to have done it for 4 years.
Yeah, it's so close to people. It's amazing. But yeah, now that we're wrapping up here, like, what's next for you in terms of either basketball or just entering the workforce, or what's next steps?
I'll tell you that I do not want to be behind a desk. So if anybody that is listening ever sees me behind a desk doing the same thing every day, I hope you can come up and tell me to go get out there, because I think my greatest strength is my voice, and I just love making new friends. I love talking to people. Making new friends is my favorite thing in the whole world. And so as of right now, no future basketball plans that are like competitive. Looking at a couple, very few, but a couple options of possibly playing in Australia. But if not, I think I just want to go live in Australia, and we'll have the best time there. But over the past couple weeks, I've gotten that question, like, are you going to stay in touch with basketball? And I know I am. I think the sport has given me far too much for me to just lose it as soon as we lost that Denison game. And so whether that is coaching little kids around me in my neighborhood or picking up in a rec league every now and then, I definitely will stay connected. I think the greatest gift that the sport has ever given me has been my teammates. And so if I can give that gift to anybody else, and I can teach that and the importance of joining a team so that you can find your family to anybody else, I feel like it is my duty as somebody who's reaped the best benefits to go out and try to persuade and try to give people the encouragement to join a team, because it really is the best thing that I've ever gotten.
Yeah. Sports are incredible. There's nothing like sports. As an athlete myself, I can say that I don't like to think 4 to 3 years in the future, but it's something that you have to enjoy while you have and try to make the most of every day.
Totally.
It never really leaves you, I don't think. Obviously, I haven't gotten to that point yet, but everyone that I've known who's had to leave it doesn't really leave them. It sticks with you in your heart. I was wondering too, the last thing, because again, like I harped on throughout the show, like more than just athletes, more than just students. I was wondering, what are some of the most like impactful non-basketball things you've gotten to do while you're here? Because we talk about like in terms of spring term abroad, like our Greek life, all that stuff that we get to do here. I was wondering what some of the most impactful non-basketball things that have happened to you at WNL have been.
I will have to say 2 things. I'm a tour guide, and it is my favorite thing ever. Like I said, I love making new friends. And
Yeah.
so every couple weeks, I get to sign up for a tour with my class schedule permits, and I get to meet a handful of 30 people from across the country. who have questions about the school, and I also just get to talk about WNL, which is a win for me. And so that has been amazing, just being a part of that, embracing the speaking tradition as much as I can. And then also, I've had a couple lunches over at Kendall Lexington, which is the retirement home, and a lot of them come to the games every week. And they also sing the national anthem every senior day. And so the choir group there, just having lunch with them and and Sally, who's my favorite, and Dennis Bussey, who leads the charge in getting him over, hearing their stories and everything they've done in their lifetime and all the advice they have to give to me you can't put a money amount on that. You know what I mean? I think people are a summation of all of their stories. And so just taking the time to sit down and listen to what they have to say and all of the advice that they've gathered from their trials and tribulations, I know it's helping me already. I feel like I'm reading the 4 agreements when I talk to them, but they're pretty incredible. And I really do strongly encourage anybody to get involved with them as much as you can because it's amazing.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it. I didn't even know we had that here, honestly. But yeah, that's something that it's a good thing to do. And I think that you can learn a lot from people in all stations of life, like no matter what's going on. Last and final question, tied into the legacy again. Like, obviously, for all of us who are here, when you were here, you played. We're always going to remember you as Mary, the basketball player, Mary, the record setter, like all that. But I wonder if someone 10, 15 years down the line at WNL thinks about you or asks about you, like what kind of legacy, what do you want people to remember? Like that far down the line when there's no one here who was here when you were left?
That's a great question. I really think that at the end of the day, obviously basketball is where people know me from. But like you, I wish more people would, I know it's a two-way street, but I just want to be friends with people. I hope they know me as somebody who is the speaking tradition's #1 fan, who tries to be outside and off her phone and active on campus as much as possible. I try to talk to everybody, even if we've only had 2 or 3 run-ins. I think WNL is such a special place, and in 15 years, like you were saying, if I'm in the city of New York and I see somebody with a Trident hat on, I'm going to freak out because that is the epitome of what it is here. And so just these next couple months, try not to take for granted that if I'm going to freak out for one person on the streets of New York, what am I going to do right now when I get to pass them every single day? And so just making as many friends as I can, not taking it for granted, because like I said about the huddle, I know in a year I'm going to think back and wish I was doing it all over again. But it's such a great blessing to have the community that we have here. And I hope they know me as somebody who was involved in all walks of the WNL journey, not just basketball, but Greek life, Catholic-Con, University Ambassador, the radio, and even academics. I hope my teachers know that I've been trying, even though it's been rough.
Yeah, it's not easy here for sure. And I do think, like what you said in relation to being friendly, trying to just, again, like you said, when we're alums, we're going to seek out opportunities to see each other again. Like, why not go crazy while we're here?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a great point. I never heard someone put it like that before.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you so much again for coming on today. Like, this is truly an honor to get to interview you for this, and I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for having me. I had a blast.
Of course, I'm so glad. But yeah, and to the listeners, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time on Generals on the March.